Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be doing a collection style video. I'm going to be doing full reviews and swatches for you guys of my entire drugstore collection. This video was actually inspired by Kelly Gooch. I will link her video down below if you guys are interested. I think she actually has a smaller drugstore makeup collection than me. My video might be a little bit longer. I do have other collection and declutter videos on my channel where I do reviews and full swatches, so this isn't like new to me on my channel. So if you are a returning viewer, you may have already seen many of these makeup items, but if you are new to my channel, hi, hello, my name is Carrie. Hopefully you get some R&R out of this. Maybe you fall asleep to this video, or you just simply find it helpful. This is definitely going to be on the longer side, and it may take me more than one day to film this, you guys. I am over here messing with this new tripod that I just got. It has one of the like overhangs so that I can film like from top down. So if I have just switched camera angles during this intro, I do apologize. Buckle in, I'll stop talking, let's get started. I think I'll start with the illuminating primers first. I have one here from Moira Beauty. This is fairly new to me. This is our Illuminating Glow Primer. I actually think this is really similar to the e.l.f. Halo Glow. I don't hear anyone talking about this, and I don't know how new of a release it is for Moira, but it's very similar in that it's just this very natural glow with just like pearls in it with no actual shimmers. I find this formula like extremely hydrating. It does have like a slight scent to it. It almost smells like a moisturizer scent, but it's not like overpowering. So it's actually really nice. I don't know again how long Moira Beauty has had this in their line, but I do think that it's like this beautiful glowy illuminating product. I actually think that it's very similar to the L'Oreal Lumi Glotion. The Moira Beauty one is less expensive, but they're so similar. They both have like a slight tint to them. They're both this really just illuminating base that doesn't have any sparkles in it. I would say that this one is not as thick of a formula as the Moira Beauty. It's not as like hydrating necessarily, and this one actually does come in a shade. This one is in light glow. I do know that they make a fair glow, but I don't think that this is too dark. In fact, I don't think this is as illuminating as the Moira Beauty. The next one that I have that's kind of like an illuminating primer is the Flower Beauty Skin Smoothie Radiance Glow Primer. I wouldn't say this is as glowy as the other two. It doesn't have any like pearls in it or anything. I think it's just supposed to be this almost gel-like formula that just gives like this healthy glow to the skin. I really like this product. I would say it's very similar to like the First Aid Beauty one that I have, that's the Skin Smoothie Primer. If I'm looking for a boost of hydration, I think this one sinks into the skin really well, so I do like this. And then for the e.l.f. Halo Glow, I have mine in the shade, this one is in light, I think. No, it's in fair, shade 1. I haven't gotten as much use out of this as I would like to. I think it's a really good product though. I love this for the high points of my face. It's a viral product, so I'm sure you guys are aware of it. I don't use this alone as like highlighter, but I do like it under the foundation. And I think with this product, like I can tell that I've put it on underneath my foundation. With like a lighter coverage or medium coverage foundation, this does peek through and just look very natural on the skin, like you just have this natural healthy glow. I have no idea how much this camera is moving while I'm filming. I kind of see it like shifting that way, so if I catch it doing it again, I'll reposition it. So I have one here from Milani. This is the Skin Quench Hydrating Primer. Milani does a really good job on their primers, I think. This one's more like a lotiony primer. It's just super hydrating. It's kind of on the thicker side. I never find that it messes with any of my foundations. It's just great for honestly just a boost of hydration. And then I have one here from Hard Candy. This is the Sheer Envy Hydrating Primer. It's supposed to be a makeup grip, moisturizing, and perfects. This one is very similar to the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip. I honestly think they made this as like a dupe to that. Very similar color, very similar texture. This one is more gel-like and less tacky than the Milk Makeup one. It's a thinner formula. I don't necessarily think that this is like an overly grippy primer. I would say that the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer, like that I can tell is a sticky primer when I'm putting it on, but this one doesn't necessarily feel like super tacky. It's just this ultra thin formula. It has a very slight tack to it. So if you're somebody who actually doesn't like an overly tacky primer, this would be a really good one to check out. I think I picked this up on Walmart online. The last like kind of hydrating primer is this one from Wet n Wild. It's called the Primer Serum. It's supposed to, I think, just brighten. This one has calendula, pineapple, and hibiscus in it. This is one that I really don't find does anything. I've held on to it because I think it feels good on the skin. It's this super liquidy, very gel-like formula. I think it's kind of a product where if you use it over time, it's supposed to brighten, but I don't necessarily find that like when it dries, it does anything for my skin. I've kept it around because I like to keep affordable options in my collection, and I think it feels really good on the skin. I just don't notice that it does anything. I have a couple here that are like redness reducers or supposed to be like color correctors. The first one is from Essence. This is the redness reducer primer. It's supposed to be balancing and calming. This one does have green tea in it, so if you guys are not a fan of like green tea extract in your products because of the scent, I don't think you would like this. I do not notice that this does a whole heck of a lot on my face. I think it does a tiny bit, but part of that is because it's just this super thin formula. I think its claim here is mostly that it's supposed to be balancing and smoothing, and therefore it kind of like naturally reduces some of your redness. I kept it because I was trying a ton of anti-redness primers, and this one was definitely better than some of the other ones I tried. For example, the fairly new one from L'Oreal that I feel like a lot of people are liking, it just pilled up on my face and it really didn't work for me. I find this one works really well under all of my foundations. Another one here is the Corrector. This is another anti-redness primer from Catrice. This one is much more of a thick formula. You can clearly see it has much more of a tint. So this one I think works better than the Essence one, and it doesn't have like any kind of green tea in it. I also don't find that this messes with my foundation in any way. It doesn't cause it to pill up. The only thing with this one is I really have to rub it in. And also I noticed that parts of my face that have extra hairs, like this green will cling to it a little bit. Like if I don't shave my mustache perfectly, this will cling. Aside from that, I actually find this to be a really good anti-redness reducer primer. I would just say that you're gonna wanna like put this in targeted areas or blend in the parts of your face that have a little bit more like peach fuzz on it. I think that's it for the redness and like hydrating primers. Oh no, wait. This one here is supposed to be a color correcting primer. This one is from Makeup Revolution. It's the CC Swirl Primer. I kept this because I honestly think this is like such a cool design in here. It is a hydrating formula, but I do not find that it does anything to color correct. It's got this like blue hue, but I think that it like blends out into nothing. It's very moisturizing and smooth, and it never meshes with my foundation, and I kind of thought this was cool, but I really don't find that it does any color correcting or evens out my skin tone or even like reduces some of the hyperpigmentation that I have around my eyes. I think it's nice feeling. I just don't think that it works overly well. I have one here from NYX. I've had this one for a while, but this went viral, I want to say at the end of 2021, maybe the beginning of 2022. This is the Marshmallow Primer. I actually kept this because I quite enjoyed it. I don't think like it's an overly perfecting primer necessarily, but it's like this whipped texture that always feels super good on my skin. And I actually find that my makeup lasts longer with this. It has like a very sweet smell. I wouldn't say that it smells necessarily like exactly like marshmallows. I like it because it's like kind of a tacky formula. And like I said, I do think that this helps grip my makeup. I'm not sure that's what it was intended to do, but I feel like I get longer lasting results on my foundation when I wear this. And so I have kept this around. I honestly have not reached for this enough lately. I think I'm gonna pull this back out. I feel similarly about the other one from NYX that I have, the Angel Veil. This is supposed to be a skin perfecting primer. This is more like on the lotiony side, I would say more so than the Marshmallow Primer. It's very similar properties. I noticed that it helps to like lock down my foundation a little bit. Again, not sure that's what it was intended to do, but that's how I feel about it. This one has much more of a powdery finish. I do actually really enjoy this one. These three are newer to my collection. So this one from NYX is the Shine Killer Primer. This one is infused with charcoal, so it's like a black color. It's very interesting. I have been trying to use more targeted like shine killers and oil control, especially in the summertime here in Florida. I do not find that this really does anything. Honestly, it's such a light consistency. It feels more like almost gel-like, and so it doesn't like feel mattifying the way that the Angel Veil one does, and so I don't really find that it keeps my oils at bay. I'm still holding it onto it because I'm still like trying to give it a shot and I'm still testing it, but honestly don't find that this one works as well for what it's supposed to do as the other two that I just went over. And by the way, that black color, like once you blend it in, it does go away. The next one that I have is from W7. This is a brand out of the UK, but you can get this here at like CVS and I think online at Walmart also. So it is drugstore pricing. It's very affordable. What they do is they dupe higher end brands. So this particular primer was supposed to be duping the Smashbox Photo Focus primer. This is called the Universal Face Primer, and it's like the Camera Ready, which is supposed to be like a play on words for the photo focus, I guess. This one is less silicone-y than the Smashbox one is. This one is soft and it's almost like pore filling. It's very, very smoothing, but it almost feels like it has like oils in it. I, again, don't necessarily find that this one does too much, but it is newer to me, so I am still like testing it out. As far as it duping the Smashbox, I just don't think it's identical. I think it's just a little bit different. The final one that I have is the newest to my collection. This is the Power Grip Primer with 4% niacinamide from e.l.f. I did not try the original version. I am quite enjoying this one. It's still in my like testing new makeup. It's definitely a grippy primer. I would say it's even more grippy than the Milk Makeup one. Never messes with any of my foundations. So still testing this one out, but so far I really like it. Like once it dries down, it's not overly sticky. So I think that if you wanted one that wasn't as grippy, like this one would be the one to check out. Okay, now we have moved on into my drugstore foundations. I've also included in here like affordable K-beauty, which is these two over here, because you can get them on Amazon and they're really inexpensive. In some cases, even more affordable than some of the foundations that you can get at the drugstore. So some of my absolute favorites in here, I think I'll just pull those out first. So one of my favorite satin finish foundations is the e.l.f. Flawless Satin Foundation. I have mine in the shade Bisque, which I think is actually probably like maybe a shade too dark for me. This is such a good My Skin But Better satin foundation. It's like one of the few foundations where I find it to be like this whipped consistency that actually works for me. If you've seen me talk about foundations on my channel before, usually those whipped consistency foundations don't typically like work on my skin. They usually like separate. This is one of the few that doesn't. This is like a $6 foundation. It's super inexpensive. It's one of my favorites from the drugstore. I think it's like right away just medium coverage. I don't think it's like the longest lasting ever. It definitely comes off on my more oily parts like during the summertime, but all around such a good, such affordable foundation. Nobody really talks about this foundation. They talk about like other e.l.f. CC creams and like BB creams, but nobody really talks about this one. It's one of my favorite foundations of like all time. Some of my other favorites in here, and these are newer, like this particular reformulation I think launched in January. This is the L'Oreal True Match. I have mine in the shade N1, which is neutral light. This is such a light to medium coverage, like beautiful skin-like finish foundation. It's just so gorgeous. Like something about this foundation truly perfects my skin, and every time I wear it and I catch myself like in the mirror, I'm just thoroughly enjoying the way my skin looks. So such a good reformulation in my opinion. Another one that I absolutely love and also a release in January is the Revlon Illuminant Skin Caring Foundation. I have mine in the shade 117. This again is like very skin perfecting. It reminds me of the L'Oreal True Match in that it's just like this super light to medium coverage foundation. It's supposed to be a radiant finish, but I almost find that it like pulls satin on my skin. Like once it dries down, it's almost like highly impacted by like the skincare that you put on underneath it or the primer, and it will like change because it's such a lightweight formula. But it's again just so gorgeous on my skin. I always love the way this looks. These two have like a medium wear time on them. I'd almost say they're like my perfect wear time. They just both break down beautifully, so I just love both of those. Another one that I absolutely love is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Eraser Treatment Makeup. This one I use for a completely natural makeup day. It's like My Skin But Better. Eliminates some of my redness. It evens out my skin tone, and if I'm going for like a no makeup day, I always grab this. Another one that that I love, and I would say all of these ones that I'm showing you are like really my unproblematic foundations. This one is newer to me. This one is also from W7. This is the Genius Featherlight foundation. This is one of my few foundations in my collection that is a liquid to powder formula. It's like this super oil based, like it's so liquidy and thin, but it's so powdery when it dries down. It dries down to such a powder finish. I don't need to set it. I don't know if you guys can see that on my hand, but it's an extremely oily product, but it doesn't stay oily. No one talks about this, and very few people talk about W7, especially here in the US. I forgot to mention this one is in the shade Sand Beige, which is a little bit deeper for me, but I can still get away with it. And the Makeup Eraser one is in 120 Cream Ivory. Out of these, I would say my next favorite is the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. This again is very light coverage on me. It's not a super long lasting foundation or skin tint or tinted moisturizer. Rather, it just breaks down like super evenly. Like when it fades off like everywhere all at the same time, but still leaves this like very skin-like finish. I think this oxidizes. So this is a lot darker than I remember it being. And this one is in the shade Light. And I might even try and pick up the fair shade because it does pull a little bit dark on me. Another one from Wet n Wild that I really do like is the Photo Focus foundation. This one is the dewy version. I do not like this weird little paddle, and I don't love the smell on this. The smell straight up smells like, to me, acetone, just nail polish remover. I find this is more medium coverage. It's a little bit thicker of a consistency than the other one, but it is beautiful. It's not a super long lasting foundation. I would also say that it's not overly dewy, but it's very skin-like. The two K-Beauty brands that I have here, I'll talk about this one first. This one is from Purito. It's the Cica Clearing BB Cream. This one is in the shade number 13, Neutral Ivory. This one is a very like radiant finish foundation. It makes me look like I'm glowing on the high points of my face. It makes me look very plump. I love the way this looks on the skin. I'd say it's like light to medium coverage. It's one of those that I feel like gives me hydration and gives me a healthy glow, but almost performs like a satin finish foundation because it just lasts a little bit longer as opposed to slipping off of my face really fast. I have come to thoroughly enjoy this. I think it's like $8 on Amazon. I feel very similarly about the Misha Perfect Cover BB Cream. This one is in the shade number 21. This is a gray tone, so it's not like the same in terms of tone necessarily, and it's more of a thicker formula, and it's whipped, and this one has SPF, or at least I can tell that it has SPF. This one here does smell like it, but I cannot read it because all of this writing is, I believe, in Korean. Performs very similarly to the Purito, and then it's like this super healthy glow, but almost performs in terms of longevity like a satin finish foundation. And I love that it has an SPF of 42 in it. So this is also, again, pretty affordable, and you can find this on Amazon. One that's pretty new to me that I actually am really liking is the Super Serum Foundation from Relove, which is by Makeup Revolution. I find this to be kind of more full coverage, but I find it works really well if I go in with like a really light layer. I find that like less is more with this, but it's almost like a satin matte foundation that seems to work really well in the summertime. So really inexpensive. I think this is like $2.98. It's like a $3 foundation, I think. You can get this at Walmart. I think I picked it up at Walmart online. Super affordable. So far, it's pretty good. Another one that I do really like that I think oxidizes quite a bit, and it's probably on the older side, so it probably does need to go soon, is the Maybelline Fit Me. This is the Dewy and Smooth. It doesn't have a pump. I never bought a pump for it, so I always just kind of like put it on the back of my hand and then apply it. Yeah, it just came out like super liquidy. I haven't even touched this foundation in a while. I kind of said on my like last foundation declutter that if I didn't use this, that I was gonna like declutter it, and honestly, I haven't even reached for it since then. Not that that video was done that long ago, but I think this is like my oldest foundation in my collection. And honestly, with my sensitive skin, I'm trying not to hold on to foundations as long as I used to before. I don't find this is, again, like an overly dewy foundation. See how dark it is? I feel like this is definitely oxidized from when I had it. This one is in the shade 115 Ivory, and I would not say that that's ivory. I did forget to mention that the one from Relove is in the shade F3. I think that it's like a light to medium coverage, but again, just like super natural finish. Never tried the matte and poreless one, but I would definitely be interested in trying that now that my face is more combo, because it used to be much drier when I purchased this foundation. I have two here from Catrice. One is an oldie but a goodie. I did purchase this because I felt like this one from W7 was trying to like dupe this one from Catrice, and I wanted to test the formulas. But this one is very, very different. This is not liquid to powder finish. This one is supposed to last up to 24 hours. It's supposed to be mattifying. I feel like with this one, again, less is more with me. It tends to like sit on my face funny if I put too much on. But if I go in with a light layer, it looks really good. I would say that this is more like medium to full coverage with the amount of coverage that I put on it. This one is in the shade Light Beige. Another one from Catrice that everybody loves, but I have to admit, this is not that great on my skin. For whatever reason, it just doesn't work for me. It's the True Skin Hydrating Foundation. I have mine in the shade, I have literally no idea what shade this is in because I cannot seem to find it. A lot of times Catrice like puts their shades on the stickers, and so if you like pull off the sticker, like the shade is totally gone. So this one again is a situation where it's like less is more for me. I find like this is even more mattifying than the one that's supposed to be like your mattifying waters and sweat proof with niacinamide from Catrice. I find this one is even more mattifying on my skin. A lot of people say that they like this even with dry skin. It just doesn't work that well for me, and it might be that like whipped consistency. Those foundations tend not to work on my skin for whatever reason. They seem to like sit on top of my skin and just not sink in, and so they kind of break apart throughout the day, just very strangely. Less is more, otherwise it tends to break apart on my face. These are the two newest foundations to my collection. This is the Complete Wear foundation from Moira Beauty. This is supposed to be a weightless full coverage foundation. I actually really do like this. I think it's really beautiful on the skin. I think it is medium to full coverage, but it's a lightweight formula that just gets along with me pretty well, and I think it's a pretty long lasting foundation, so quite uncomplicated, pretty affordable. And this one is the newest one to my collection. This is the Maybelline Superstay 24-Hour Skin Tint. This is one from Maybelline that I just don't care for that much. I honestly think this is on the dry side. I don't think it's intended to be. It's supposed to be more of a hydrating skin tint with vitamin C, so it's supposed to be like more brightening. And while I think it's like liquidy and serumy, for whatever reason it clings on to a lot of the dry patches on my face. It's so light coverage that it's actually quite shocking that it looks as dry on my skin as it does. I have only tested this one time, so far not a fan, but still testing it. Okay, on to concealers, and I also have color correctors in here. So some of my favorites in here are the Flower Beauty. This is the Get Real Serum Concealer. I have mine in the shade Vanilla. This is a very full coverage concealer, but it's so lightweight and super creamy. It's one of my few full coverage concealers that I find never creases on me. So I quite love this. You guys, if you have like drier under eyes or lines under your eyes and you get a lot of creasing, but you like a more full coverage concealer, I think this one is really good. Of course, you know, that's just my skin type, but for me, it seems to work really well. So I love this. This is like in the front of my drawer because I reach for this all of the time. Another one that I really like that I think is kind of like a tried and true concealer is the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. This is more like medium coverage, light to medium coverage. If I'm looking for just an uncomplicated medium coverage concealer, like this one is honestly awesome, never creases, it's just not too drying. I feel that way about the Wet n Wild Incognito Concealer. This one is supposed to be an all-day full coverage concealer. However, I do not find that it's full coverage on me. I find that it's like medium. Very similar to the Maybelline Fit Me, honestly. I think this is even more light coverage than the Maybelline Fit Me. Even though this one claims to be full coverage, it's just super hydrating, like a very smoothing formula. I like this paddle. Very malleable paddle is like nice on the under eyes. This one is more affordable than the Maybelline one. I think it's a really good concealer. I think my next favorite is probably the Relove Conceal and contour palette from Makeup Revolution. I am usually not someone who likes like this kind of compact cream formula concealer, but honestly this never creases. Quite hydrating of a formula, and I even think that it's good for eyeshadow primer, and I think that some of these other shades are actually really nice. Like I could easily like contour with this one or this one. I could jump between these two shades for the concealer. This is $3, so very affordable. I can literally see the camera just slipping as I'm filming, so I'm really sorry that you guys have like the camera's like tipping this way. I swear I have tightened it as tight as it can go. Anyway, so I think this is really good for like a compact, very hydrating, doesn't crease, $3. This one is fairly new to me. This is the Moira Beauty Lavish Creamy Concealer. I am forgetting to mention the shades for you guys. I don't know what I have in the Maybelline because it's on the older side and like it's totally gone. This conceal palette is in medium, and the one from Wet n Wild is in the shade Light Beige. This one from Moira Beauty is in the shade 150 Oatmeal. This again is supposed to be like a medium to full coverage concealer. I've only tested this a couple of times, but honestly, like so far, I really do like the way that this looks under my under eyes. I don't find that it's drying. I don't think it's a buildable formula. I think one layer is pretty much all you can get away with this. I do think it's like a smoothing formula, so far I'm enjoying it. Oh, and I forgot about this one. I actually really do like this one. So this one is the IRL Filter Finish Concealer by Makeup Revolution. This one is in the shade C2. I feel like there's a foundation that goes with this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there is a foundation that goes with this, and I didn't get along with that if I'm remembering correctly. I like this like flat paddle. I like that just like sits on the under eye and it's like easy to apply that way. I really liked this concealer, honestly. Like it wasn't drying even though it was more like medium to full coverage. I liked the soft matteness about it. I don't always get along with like Makeup Revolution base products necessarily. I have tested quite a few that I don't get along with, but the ones that I've been testing more recently for like from the Relove line and this concealer, I do really enjoy. Now for some of the color correctors, I have the Catrice Ultimate Camouflage Cream. This doesn't necessarily like market itself as a color corrector. It's supposed to be like a concealer slash corrector in one. This one is in Brightening Peach. This is so hard. Like, I don't know why I've held on to this. I feel like it's a really, really hard formula that doesn't necessarily do a whole lot of correcting on my under eyes. It's fairly new to me and I haven't tested it that much, even though I've put it in a speed reviews. I did call this like makeup graveyard. Like not bad enough to get rid of, but just not good enough that it's gonna be a standout like product in my collection. One that I do really like, but I feel like is kind of underwhelming in terms of color correcting, is the Milani Under Eye Brightener. This one is in the shade 01 Rose. I love that this is a super lightweight formula, but it's so disgustingly messy. Look at that. I did not intend to like, oh my gosh, it just keeps going. I didn't intend to squeeze that much out. I find that with all of these like Milani products that are in these like tubes like this, they all seem to, I don't know, just a ton of product comes out. Like the packaging is just very, very messy. So I love that this is super lightweight and never meshes with my concealer. Like some of these tend to make my concealers look a lot heavier because they're just a thicker consistency, whereas this one doesn't. I honestly just find when I blend it in, it doesn't conceal enough or like color correct enough. I've almost decluttered this, but I've held on to it because I liked the formula so much. I'm just not convinced that, you know, on my darker under eye days that this just does enough. One that I absolutely love that was recommended to me by a subscriber is from Rimmel. This is the Instant Conceal and Correct. I don't know if this necessarily like has a shade on it, but it comes with 3 color correctors. So one for under the eyes, one for redness, and this is like for hyperpigmentation. I think purple cancels out. I'm not sure what purple cancels out, but I use this on my hyperpigmentation. This is such a creamy, like whipped, almost like putty formula. It works so well, and honestly, it's one of the few that like works as well as it does without meshing with any of the products that I put on top of it. I was so surprised at how well this worked. I love it. This is really affordable. I got this on Amazon. If you guys are into color correctors and you don't mind like these compacts, because a lot of companies are coming out with them in like doe foot applicators, I honestly think like you should check this out. I just think these are a better formula than some of the other ones that I have been testing and like the new releases lately. Okay, the last three here, you guys. These are not my favorite. So I decluttered the NYX Bare With Me concealer a long time ago. I bought it when it first came out, which was like 2 years ago, I want to say, and I just hated like this component, and I honestly got too light of a shade, so I decluttered it pretty fast. But so many people have hyped this up that I ended up repurchasing it this year in a better shade for me, and I tried it again and I was like, I'm seriously underwhelmed. I don't know why I feel that way about it when so many people really like this. I don't feel like it's that lightweight. I feel like it does crease on me. I don't know what it is with my skin, and this concealer it seems to like get drier as the day goes on. It looks like it's very serumy and like lightweight, but yeah, for whatever reason, it just creases as the day goes on. If you guys have experienced that with this, I would love to hear it. I hate feeling like I'm the only one out here that has trouble with that concealer and everybody else likes it. I feel that way about this one. A lot of people like the Catrice True Skin High Coverage Concealer. This one, I still have the sticker on. So this one is in Cool Cashmere. I did it again. The one from NYX is in the shade Light. I think I got Fair last time and it was like a stark white shade. This is another one that people say that they really like and then they get along with really well. And it creases on me. It creases. I have kept it because I'm trying to make it work. I think it's okay, but it creases. It's not overly drying, but it still creases. One that I cannot stand, it's like pasty grossness, is the Maybelline Super Stay Concealer. This is supposed to be up to 30-hour wear. This one is in the shade, I guess it's 05. That's what's at the top. I like this doe foot applicator. It's super pointy and super flat, and I use this only to clean up my eyeshadow. That is it. It is so dry. It creases so fast under my under eyes. It makes my under eyes look so dry and crepey. I don't know why anyone would like this. It's so bad. The only reason I keep it is to really just clean up my eyeshadows because that pointed tip is really nice for that. Now we are on into pressed powders and loose powders. So these are all different types of powders. Some of them are powder foundations, but I still use them as setting powders. I actually don't use powder foundations like by themselves. I will always use them as setting powder. I actually find that powder foundations work really well for setting your makeup, and you know, if you're using it on top of like a lighter coverage foundation, that it gives like an added bit of coverage. I don't know, it's just, it looks really good on my skin. I happen to like that, so that's why I use them that way. Some of my favorites here have to be the e.l.f. This is their Camo Powder Foundation. I have mine in the shade Fair 150C. This is my favorite powder foundation for setting my powder. Setting my foundation, setting my powder. This honestly is just like so soft. It feels like it's made of clay. It's smoothing and like super airbrushing on my skin, and it really does like set my makeup. I always love how my makeup looks when I use that. This one here from Essence is similar. I just wouldn't say that it's like as good or as soft as the one from e.l.f. It's more powdery than the one from e.l.f. It doesn't quite like give the same airbrushed effect, but I do think that it is good. These two are newer, but I love them. This is the Relove Super Matte Powder by Makeup Revolution. I'm always doing this. This one is in 01 Porcelain from Essence. This one is in the shade Vanilla. I really like this one. This one is actually infused with clay, and it's so soft. It's not as good or like as strong as the one from e.l.f., but I'd say it's like pretty darn close. It just looks super smoothing and like airbrushing on my skin, and it's quite mattifying. So I do really like this one for setting my makeup. Another one that I have come to really enjoy, this was released in January. This is the 5-in-1 Essence Primer and Finishing Powder from Wet n Wild. It's not necessarily like the most setting powder ever. It's supposed to be like you could use it as a primer, a finishing powder. It says here it smooths, it conditions, it refines pores, it balances, and it's pre and post makeup. I don't find like it's an overly setting product, but it's very similar to the one from e.l.f. in that it's like this thick consistency that's just really smoothing. I mean, you can see how much brighter this one is than the others, but it does blend in very nicely. This one is in the shade, I actually don't think this one comes in a shade. I think it was just like one color, like one setting powder, because I think it's supposed to be like translucent. Anyway, super smoothing. I actually use this as primer a couple of times, like under my foundation, and I do think that it like fills in your pores and it makes your skin look really smooth before you go in with like a liquid foundation. It's kind of a weird thought to do that with a powder product, but it worked really well. I would say my favorite like loose setting powders are these two. This is newer to me. This is the Matte Dreamer loose powder from W7. This is slightly tinted. It's almost kind of like on the pink side. It does offer like a little bit of coverage, but it's so smoothing and it's so mattifying. This is like probably become my favorite loose setting powder. Inexpensive, don't know what it's duping, but I feel like it is duping something because I told you this brand is the one that like dupes a lot of high-end brands. This one is in Classy Cameo. I love this right now during the summertime because it's super, super mattifying. This one actually like really sets down my makeup. The other one that I really like, and I put this in the drugstore category, but this is probably the most expensive of this group. This is the Beauty Bakery Flower Better Not Bitter setting powder. This one is in the shade Oat Translucent. I used to use this back when I had like really, really dry skin, and it worked really, really well for me. And now that I have more combo skin, I find that it like works even better. I do have a backup of this because I enjoy it so, so much. This one does have talc in it though, so if you're sensitive to talc, you probably wouldn't want to use that. This one from Rimmel, I actually really do like. This is the Stay Matte powder in 001 transparent. It is doing some hard panning, and I haven't had it like that long, but I do find that it's a pretty mattifying powder. It's very, very lightweight. It's lighter weight than some of the other pressed ones that I showed you, but it doesn't look too dry on my skin. And usually when I'm looking for like a mattifying powder, I'm always worried that they're gonna look too dry, and this one doesn't. So really affordable, good option. This one here from Catrice is the Baking and Setting Loose Powder. This is again another mattifying one. This is very, very light. This one is in C01 transparent. It's like the lightest loose powder that I have, but it's so lightweight, you guys. It feels like you're touching a little cloud. There is it on the skin. It's really, really extremely light, very powdery formula. I think if you like to bake, this is really good because it does cast a little bit of white on your face. Like you do have to really, really blend this in for it not to like leave a little bit of a white cast. So it's more of a baking powder for me, even though I don't do that very often. But if I do wanna like really set, like my nose, for example, that gets more oily, I do have to blend this in pretty well, but it is a pretty good setting powder. A tried and true one for me is the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder in Fair Light. This I do find, even though it is a finishing powder, it does set my makeup quite well. It's an oldie but a goodie. It provides like a little bit of extra coverage, and even through my dry skin days, I never found that this dried me out, so I always like to keep this on hand. Another one from Maybelline that I don't hear anyone talking about is the Lasting Fix Banana Powder. This is the translucent setting powder. This is supposed to be an all-day matte. I again used to use this quite frequently when it was back in my dry skin days, and I liked it because it never dried me out. A lot of people don't use banana powders these days, but I mean, it's not that much different in tone than some of the other ones that have a little bit of a shade to them. So I think this is a really good powder. I don't necessarily know what banana powders are used for. I use this straight up as a setting powder like all over my face. These three from Moira are all newer to me. This one being the oldest. This is their Soft Focus Waterproof Setting Powder. This one is in the shade 100. I got this because it said it was waterproof, and I sweat a lot here in Florida, so I wanted to try it. I would say it's okay. I don't find anything remarkable about this formula, and I honestly don't think that it's that waterproof. I have tested this like using setting spray on top of it, and I don't find that like the setting spray beads up and like looks waterproof on top of this. I would say it's okay, but it's not a standout like some of the other ones. I do like this one a little bit more. This is their Complete Wear Powder Foundation. This is a very, very new release for them. This one is in the shade 125N. I like this because it feels a lot like the e.l.f. in that it's like this super smoothing formula, but it's like kind of on the thicker side. Again, I'm just really into powder foundations as setting powders. When they're done really well, they look super smooth on the face. So I'm quite enjoying this one. This one I haven't like done in a speed reviews yet, but I do really like this. This last one here is the newest in my collection. This again from Moira. It's the Set and Correct Finishing Powder in the shade 100. They do have this in the loose powder version. This is really supposed to be like kind of color correcting, right? Like you have one for under the eyes, one for redness. I forget what blue does. And this one is more like a finishing powder. I usually just like swirl all of these together. I just usually get mostly white. So I'm not getting out of it what I think it's like supposed to do. I was testing this as like, okay, I'm just gonna dip my whole sponge or brush into it and just apply it as like a setting powder. I think it's a nice finishing powder, but I don't think that I get what I'm supposed to out of like the colors of this. Okay, so I figured we'd move on into setting sprays next. I don't have a huge setting spray collection because I don't use them very often, and most of my setting sprays are from the drugstore. So I actually have in here too that I would consider like fixing mists, which is one, the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Rose 3-in-1 Primer Water. Even though this is supposed to prep, set, and refresh, I find that it's more of like a refresh step other than like a setting spray step. I don't find that this overly sets my makeup, but it does have a rose smell to it. It is nice for like a boost of hydration if I've gone in too heavy with powder or something like that. But the sprayer is very intense on that one. Same thing with the Pixie. I love this as like a final step after I've powdered if I want to like refresh my makeup. It's also a rose water and green tea like scent to it, and it's a very intense sprayer. So both of these are like very similar products. One that is like a pretty strong, like very setting spray is the Milani Make It Last setting spray. It's supposed to be up to 16-hour wear. I find that this is like a straight tacky finish. It's very, very intense sprayer. It's also like almost sticky, like you have to let this completely dry, but I do find that it sets my makeup. Another one that I like is from NYX. It's the Met Cayena Mist. It's actually a facial mist that came from the Avatar Way of the Water collection. I find that the sprayer is a little bit nicer than the other ones. I do like the way that this feels. I don't know that it overly sets my makeup, and I'm pretty sure you can't even get this anymore. I'm not sure that the Avatar collection is still available on their site, but this was part of that collection, and I did pick up the whole collection. This one from Catrice, it's supposed to be a long-lasting, it's the Prime and Fine Multi-Talent Fixing Spray. This is a product that I don't find really does anything. Like, it's a decent sprayer, and I have used quite a bit of it, like for as much as, you know, I don't know that it does anything, but I don't know that it does anything. I don't find that it's an overly setting product. I feel the same way about these two. The NYX Matte Finish 16-hour setting spray. Again, I don't feel like it like keeps my oils at bay or locks down my foundation. Same thing with the one from W7, the Matte Fixer. I don't feel like it's overly mattifying, and I don't feel like it really does the trick. Both of these are like newer to my collection. I have done speed reviews on both of these, and I just basically said the same thing, that I don't find that they do anything, but they're not terrible, so that's why I have kept them around. I mean, at least for now. One that I am still testing, but I absolutely am falling in love with, is the Moira Oil Control setting spray. This is supposed to be mattifying and long lasting. This is an actual mist sprayer, so it's like a full-on mist. So refreshing on the face. I wish all the setting sprays were like this, honestly. The component, the packaging, such good quality. whatever reason, this is like a milky texture. It has like a milky color to it. When I first got it, it had like this weird ring at the top, but it's like since gone away. I love the sprayer on this. I think it actually is very oil controlling, and I think it does like mattify my makeup and make it last longer. So if you're looking for one that does all of those things, I would say check out the setting spray from Moira Beauty. I figure we move on into like eye products, eyebrows, and eye primers. This is really underwhelming, I'm sure, but I don't have a lot of eyebrow pencils because I get addicted to the ones that I like, and I just repurchase them as I use them up. And I don't use eyeshadow primers all that much, and these are basically all of them. I probably have like 1 or 2 other eyeshadow primers in my whole collection that are like on the higher end side. Most of my primers are from the drugstore. I put the Juvia's Place one in here because it is just more affordable. So I figure we'll go over like the primers first. So this is the Base Booster Glitter and Shadow Glue from BH Cosmetics. Honestly, I've only tried this once, so I don't know how well it works just yet. The one time I did try it, it was like okay, but I think I was trying to apply like the glitter or the shadow on too quickly before putting it on, and so it wasn't like fully tacky yet. So I need to keep testing this. I don't know how I feel about it just yet. One that I love is the Essence Prime Like a Boss eyeshadow base. This did release in January. This is basically gone. There isn't a whole lot in this tube anyway. It's like $3, but I loved it so much I kept reaching for it, so I've almost used it all the way up. There's probably like 2 more uses out of this whole thing. This one is fairly new to me. This is the NYX Ultimate Eyeshadow Primer, Liner, and Shadow and Liner Primer, I guess. I have been enjoying this. This doesn't offer like any real like coverage. It's kind of like the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion. So it's nice, just no color to it. It does get like a little bit tacky. So far I've had like 1 shadow skip on it, but I think it was like the shadow and not the primer. So enjoying that one. This one I'm also testing. It's the eyeshadow primer from Moira. Honestly, it's just like the NYX. Like same doe foot applicator, also very reminiscent of the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion. No real tint, even though it like comes out of the tube looking a little bit milky so far. Like both of these, they perform very similarly, and so far I'm enjoying them. When I want a little bit more of a color, or like, you know, I want to conceal my eyes a little bit more before going in with shadow, I will use the one from Juvia's Place, because this is very, very tinted, very tacky, like super full coverage eyeshadow primer. Like this is what you would use if you really want to do like a very vibrant eye look, or honestly, like even if you wanted to do a cut crease, I would say like instead of using concealer, you could easily reach for this. Okay, eyebrow products. So let's see, this one I love from e.l.f. This is their Ultra Precise Brow Pencil in the shade Taupe, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm just really into Ultra Precise brow pencils. I find that this one's like very similar to the Benefit Precisely My Brow. I would say this one's a little bit more on the dry side than that one is, but such a good shade match. It's not waterproof or anything, but it is pretty long lasting. I lost the cap somehow. One I do not like, but I haven't gotten rid of yet because I'm still trying to make it work. I don't know why, but I am, because I bought it, I guess. This is the Clean ID Pure Eyebrow Pencil from Catrice. This one is in the shade 020 Light Brown. This one is like the sharpenable pencil kind. I don't know why I bought this. Really just to test it. Like I like the color, but I do not like the way that this like applies. Like I just don't like this big kind of tip. You can't get like anything precise. I don't know, it feels like I'm drawing it in with a crayon kind of. There's so much product here. I would like to get use out of it because it is a good shade, but I just don't love this form of pencil. One that is brand new to me that I've only tried once that I'm not necessarily loving is the Maybelline Express Brow. This one again is in the shade Taupe. Mom, don't even say a word. This one is so dry. I cannot get along with this. It hurts. It feels like it's like tugging at my eyebrows. Again, it's a really good shade for my cool tone brows, but it's so dry, and it's not like a waterproof formula, and it's not overly long lasting. So I think I'll probably use it up because I like the shade of it, but I do not like how dry this pencil is. Okay, moving on into eyeliners. I don't have many eyeliners in my collection altogether, and I'm recently just getting into eyeliners, both colorful and just using eyeliners in general. So I don't have a whole ton in my collection. These are probably my only colorful ones. I might have a couple of others from Give Beauty that I don't like as much. I do like this formula. These are their statement gel liners. I think these are waterproof. I want to say that they are, but they might not be. This one is in mint. This one is royal blue. This one is their hot pink. And this one is just red. I feel like I have another red from Moira somewhere. But I really do like these. These stay in place pretty well. I highly recommend the eyeliners from Moira Beauty. I liked these so much I ended up going back and like picking up some other Moira Beauty products. I think they just do a really good job on their liners, and I know that they just came out with like the Supernova ones that I'm really interested in picking up, but these are awesome. I guess we'll keep with the Moira Beauty theme. This one is a glitter liner, so it's called the Glitter Liner. This one is in the shade Pinky Promise. I was actually pretty skeptical about this, especially because of this little brush. I didn't think it was going to get like super precise. I have used liners like this before that were just on the liquidy side, and so they didn't have like a lot of pigment and you really couldn't see them on your eyes. But I put this on top of even like a pretty bright eyeshadow, and I found that it did stay. It's really beautiful. It does like have these little chunks of glitter in it. I do find that it shows up. It's just really good quality. All of their liquids and all of their gels and even their liquid shadows are just such great quality. They're some of my favorite affordable eye products. I have another one here from Moira. This is called their eye-catching dip liner. This one is in the shade Mulberry. Also was skeptical about this because I don't typically like wands like this, but it was so precise. It dries so fast. It's just so pigmented and matte. I'm telling you guys, these Moira liners, they're where it's at for me right now. I have one here from NYX. This is the Jumbo Eye Pencil in the shade Milk. This is one that I use to like brighten. Oh, it's a sharpenable, but I don't use it very often. I kind of feel like brightening eye pencils, like especially when they're this stark white, don't look that good on me on the lower lash line. It kind of makes my eyes look droopy. Some people can pull it off. I just don't think I can. I think it's good quality though. I have another one here from NYX that I just picked up. This is brand new to me. This is the Epic Ink Liner. I love this one for an affordable option. It's again very precise matte black. It's the kind of tip that I like. I have two more that are in brown. This is a really old one. This is from ColourPop. All this stuff is like pretty much faded off. This was the Raw Beauty Christie collab, so I probably should throw this away and not like put this on my eyes anymore. I have to say, like, it's not as creamy as the Moira Beauty ones, and so far it hasn't irritated my eyes, so I'm still holding on to it. But I have been using this one a little bit more frequently. This one is also a gel waterproof eye pencil in brown. This one is from Catrice. It's a little bit deeper of a shade. Like this is much more of a warm tone brown, and this one is much more of like a cool tone brown. So they're a little bit different. I have held on to this one from Maybelline, the Lasting Drama, I don't know, potted liner, because I feel like sometimes you just need a potted liner, but I almost never reach for this, and it's on the older side, but it doesn't seem to have like dried out yet, so I'm still keeping it. And then finally, I picked this up more recently. This is the MUA Professional Intense Color Gel Eyeliner. I do not need to keep it in this box anymore, so I might as well just take it out. This one is in the shade, I have no idea, it says nowhere on here. It's a blue, and it's almost like a steel blue. Like it's not a royal blue like this, it's almost like a navy blue. And it felt very creamy. It doesn't claim to be waterproof or anything, and I cannot find the shade on this, but I'm sorry, the box does say Sapphire. I don't know much about this brand, but I'm pretty sure it is on the affordable side. Okay, here are all my drugstore mascaras. I actually try not to hold on to mascaras that I don't like, because I'm pretty picky about my mascara in terms of like how it looks every day. I want it to look good. But there are some here that are newer to me, and I have held on to them for that reason, but I don't really love them, so you'll hear me say that. So a couple of my favorites from Maybelline from the drugstore. This is the Sky High Lash Sensational. This one is in Cosmic Black. I had the one in the pink packaging. Not sure what the difference is. This is just a really, really plastic, like unassuming pliable wand, but it gives me really good length. So if I'm looking for length, I like to reach for this one. Another one in the Lash Sensational world is the, I guess the original here, the Full Fan Effect. I like this one. It's one of those plastic wands with the short bristles that I really like. It's very pigmented, and so this one gives me like both length and volume. I like a lot of mascaras from Maybelline. I think that's all I have from Maybelline right now. I have had so many and have repurchased so many, but I'm actually getting more into trying CoverGirl mascaras recently. So I think these are the only two that I have, but they're brand new to me. This is the Lash Blast Volume. Again, one of those short bristled wands that are plastic that I really like. This one is a really wet formula, but it's like a really fan effect. Like it's so soft and wispy. I like the way this looks, plus it's waterproof. And this one I just tried recently, this Lash Blast Clean. It's a very similar wand, but it's such a different formula. Like you can tell this is just so much drier on the wand than the other one is. This one, I love this. This gives me so much good length and like a little bit of volume. It's really, really pretty. And the formula of it is just really nice. Like it doesn't dry too fast. You can build it on itself, but it's not overly wet that when you're putting it on, it's just getting everywhere. So this one is brand new to me. I haven't even done like a speed reviews on it, which means like once I do a speed review, it goes into my collection permanently. But the times that I have used this, I just kept reaching for it because I just loved the way this looks. And kind of a, you know, I just happened to be walking through the drugstore and picked it up. No real reason to have purchased it, but I love it. One from Essence that I'm sure a lot of people have tried, the Lash Princess. This is the False Lash Effect, the non-waterproof version. Love this one. Can't really wear it in the summertime because it does transfer on me. But aside from that, this one is just a really, really pigmented, wet formula, gives volume and length. Again, one of these like really small bristles. I really like that when the wands are kind of like shorter. This one's a natural bristled wand, but super affordable, really good drugstore mascara. Another one that no one talks about, but totally should, is this one from Catrice. This is the Glam & Doll False Lash Mascara. I love this. It is so pigmented and like extremely lengthening. It's such a good mascara, honestly. I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about this. Again, it's one of these wands, like if you'll notice, like kind of my preference is these shorter bristles because I feel like you can get really close to the lash line and it's just not super intimidating. I don't know what made me pick this up. I know that I did a full face of Catrice, and so I wanted to try one of their mascaras. And dang, this is really, really good. So if you're looking for or into trying new mascaras and you like Catrice and you like a lengthening mascara, I would say this one is definitely worth checking out. I have two that I don't like. So it's gonna be a hot take here for a minute. The Milani Highly Rated Mascara, it gets a lot of hype, especially recently. People really say that they like this mascara. Okay. I mean, it's a very similar wand to the Maybelline Sky High Mascara, but I think this one does a better job. I don't know why a lot of people are loving it, because it's just not like an overly wet formula. Like not a lot seems to pick up on the product. Do I even have a hair on it? I don't know, it looks like a hair. It honestly doesn't do a whole lot for my lashes. I have really, really thin lashes, and so even though it can give me length, it's great, but it still has to be like pigmented enough because I feel like I need a almost thickening mascara, something that makes my lashes look fuller, like thicker or fuller, and this doesn't do it for me. I don't care for this. I know a lot of people like it, but it's not my jam, sorry. And then the e.l.f. Lash and Roll, this one is even worse for me. I really dislike this extremely a lot. Like I just really don't like this. This literally almost does nothing for my lashes. I know a lot of people like it, but I'm telling you, like it almost doesn't even look like I've done anything when I put this on. The final one here is from Moira. This is the Volume and Lifting Mascara. Honestly, I cannot even remember how I feel about it. I just got this one. This isn't like my preferred style of wand, but I am getting into more volumizing mascaras recently. Not necessarily from the drugstore, mostly like high-end. And I don't know how I feel about this one yet. I mean, I like a lot of Moira Beauty products, but can't tell you how I feel about it just yet.